Luna, do you love your body?
Hi, this is Camber.
Hi, this is Nakisha, and you're listening to Wise and
Wise
Weird. So, healing, I can maybe try to help us do that with some astrology. Quite possibly. Actually, mine isn't so much healing as in like like warnings or like cautions, just so you know, prepared, so that you can be prepared. That's how I'll say that. It's not like danger or anything, but
a couple of yield signs.
Yeah, exactly. just slow down a little bit here. So the sun entered Capricorn today. So the sun entered Capricorn today and will be in Capricorn until January 19th, 20th, depending on like where you're at in the world and what kind of astrology you follow. So Capricorn they can tend to be more of a serious sign. It really depends. Usually they do have like great sense of humors, but a lot of people don't really see that at first because they come off so responsible and serious and business-like, and they're normally really able to push their emotions aside to get work done and to make that money. So they have kind of like a more serious demeanor to them because of that. Very hardworking and very ambitious and about accomplishments, goals, order. And it's just kind of interesting. I actually never really, maybe I have noticed this in the past, but I re-noticed it while I was just writing this down. I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of funny how we start off the new year in Capricorn season, which is all about making goals and having this, we always start off like, yeah, January, and
I'm gonna work out.
Yeah, I'm gonna work out so hard. And then by like January 31st, I'm like, what? Actually, usually doesn't even take me that long. It's like January 2nd. I'm like, nah. No thanks. Not into this, as you would say.
Yeah, not into it.
Just laying on the ground doing a sit-up, not into this. So I thought that was interesting. That's something that I guess I kind of skim over sometimes or whatever. I didn't really think about that, but I'm like, oh yeah, every year we're starting off the new year in Capricorn season, which is really cool. So very logical sign. They're all about tangible results. What can my work, what is my work getting me? Because they also are really into material things and security and luxurious type of things. Usually me as a Taurus, I vibe really well with Capricorns normally because they are like really hardworking and about their money and about nice things, and Taurus is all about nice things and like laying on them. So
and like naps on them,
lounging on them, taking naps, eating on them. Eating on them and then taking a nap on them. That's what we're all about. So it works out really well. Sun has entered Capricorn. Venus, which is also in Capricorn right now, is retrograde. So normally it's not in one sign for as long as it is right now because it's retrograde. So it will move backwards, then go direct and then start moving forward again. So it kind of, it makes it last longer in that sign. So when Venus is in Capricorn, I was kind of skimming over this a little bit last episode, but it's going to be like you getting serious about love. It's kind of coming to love from a logical kind of standpoint instead of so much in your heart space, right? It's not really a throw caution to the wind type of thing. It's very calculated. In fact, they're going to calculate the risks of, being in that situation. So that's kind of the energy right now around this. Also, finances can come up, especially if you have like shared finances, joint accounts, things like that. With Venus being retrograde, though, it brings an aspect to it of what is working and what's not, and revealing those things. When something's in retrograde, it's kind of a good time of like things being revealed or coming to the forefront, or realizations. So there may be some realizations around finances. There may be some realizations around love, and relationships, business partners, things like that. So there's my yield sign on that one. And yeah, so it can be a really intense time. And then there's also Chiron has stationed direct. So Chiron was, and I touch up on this a little last episode. Chiron was in retrograde, is now direct and moving forward. With this, because I believe Chiron's in Aries right now, which is the fire sign. So with that kind of connection, I actually wrote down connect to fire element to heal. So I thought that was pretty intense. But that can be really powerful, and that can be however you connect to that fire energy. But the fire energy, it's going to be impulsive, it's going to be intense, it's going to be assertive. It's it's a very masculine energy. Aries is the first of all the signs, and it's also the first fire sign. So they're very independent. They're very much about like the blazing their own trail, basically. Since they're a fire sign, think of like blazing your own path. So a lot of that kind of energy right now, and tapping into that can be what helps heal us right now. So Chiron is all about like, what are you healing? It's the healer in the zodiac. And I said last time it was an asteroid. It used to be considered an asteroid. Now it's actually a comet, is technically what it is now. So wanted to correct myself. But yeah, so main keywords here: raising your sexual energy, also tapping into your leadership skills, and also valuing your independence. So yeah, that's what I've got right now for the Christmas season.
I love my independence, and now I have to be around everyone. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. It's kind of weird because it's like, don't be impulsive, be calculated with the Capricorn season, right? Mm-hmm. But then with the other one, it's like, oh, well, if you tap into this fire energy, it's all about being impulsive. Not all about it, but like that's definitely one of the parts of being like a fire element,
Sure.
Impulsive, igniting, spontaneous. So that's kind of funny. I don't know. For me, I could tap into both energies and feel pretty good about that. I feel pretty connected to like the earth energies of Capricorn, but I also have a lot of fire in my chart. I kind of think of myself as like a fire earth energy.
Sure.
So for me, I'm like, I could tap into both, but I could see how that would be challenging for a lot of people. So
I feel like it makes sense. It's like impulsive or spontaneous, but still being able to calculate the risk. Like you're not gonna like be impulsive, but like also like don't just burn your house down, you know?
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they keep each other in check a little.
I like to think so. Yeah, it's all about balance in astrology. Like it's all about balance.
Yeah.
So yeah, balance it out.
Balance
That's
it out.
all I gotta say.
We have to start with being kind to ourselves
Yes.
and our bodies.
I like that transition, girl. As I ruin it, I'm like, that was good.
No, that made it so much better.
Dude, like butter. We do have to be yeah, we've got to be kind to ourselves, which is probably going to be a very big message or theme in this episode on body dysmorphia. Right? You whisper it.
No, well, I did the Vanna White thing, but I did it underneath. I went body dysmorphia because
I didn't see it.
yeah, it wasn't in the camera.
Oh, yeah, I just saw you whisper body dysmorphia.
Just being
like, oh wait,
creeper over here.
did I say the wrong episode? Was it not that episode? You're like, no, it's supposed to be on like pizza today. I'm like, oh.
Oh, we're on a good foot. Yeah. No. Yeah, body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
We both just shut down. Okay. No, I'm
So,
just kidding. It's a big topic, especially
yeah.
for women. And I think we both wanted to cover this, especially after the divine feminine. We kind of had a conversation about that. And we were like thinking this would be a good follow through because body image comes up a lot when you're trying to work with your divine feminine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this has definitely affected me in my life and stuff growing up as well. It's something that I'm currently working through. So yeah, why not throw it out there and just see who else it helps or resonates with. But what has been your experience around this topic?
Dun, dun, dun. A lot, obviously. I think that I hate to say just women, because I do believe like men have body dysmorphia in a different way. But yeah, I've struggled with it ever since I was really young. I would say consciously, I was aware of it around like maybe 9 or 10 and feeling like I didn't fit in. The friends I was around were smaller than I was, like in stature, in height, and I felt awkward and weird. So I would say my first body dysmorphia experiences had to do with my height. I got to 5'9" by the time I was in 7th grade, and like no one was that tall, and it felt weird and lanky and whatever. Ended up I felt like I kind of slouched down a lot, and I wear big baggy clothes, and I would try not to draw attention to myself, and I would try to make myself smaller because my body felt so big. And so I would make my personality smaller, which then led into like my high school years. I felt that way a lot. And I think I used sexuality as like a way of feeling like my body was worth something. Like making out with people. It's like, oh, this person wants to make out with me, so I must be attractive kind of thing. If I didn't have the attention of a dude to some degree, then I would be like, it's my body, First, and then between like 20 and 23, like I struggled with anorexia, and which was interesting because I always, maybe this is the Libra in me. I've always been able to be really functional in my dysfunctions. And so I'm really, really good at being dysfunctional to the point of like no one notices,
Yeah.
but I'm
Mhm.
still getting my results. So it's like I wouldn't eat, but like every third day. So I was never anorexic to the point where I
Wow.
would never eat, but it was very like every third day. And I'd have the exact same thing every day, which was $1 menu McDonald's burger, which is really funny.
What? Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, and so that happened on and off for a couple of years. And I got down to like 117 pounds, and I could see like my rib cage up here. Um, and I remember my boyfriend at the time said, "Oh, you're like almost to that like hot skinny." And so
Wow.
I just remember, so then I would like go with him to the gym and I would like work out like crazy. I would run for like an hour and a half and then we would lift weights. And this is on like no food.
Yeah, no, on a McDonald's burger occasionally.
Yeah. I would feel dizzy. I got really sick. I passed out when I worked at Target like I passed out in a team meeting one time, like all this stuff. It was crazy. All pretty much unknown to pretty much anyone in my life.
Yeah, I
Um,
never knew about this. Yeah.
yeah, I've never really talked about it. I never said like, "Hey, or I was anorexic." And
Wow.
I think that's just because like I didn't want to associate to it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's come up a lot now. Um, I did okay with it off and on, throughout my 20s. And then lately, because I've gotten to the biggest point in my life, which is like over 200 pounds. And that was like, really hard for me. Uh, like 100 pounds more than I was when I was anorexic. And it's like, holy shit. Um, and I found that my first instinct is to stop eating instead of eating healthy. And so I've been trying to like work through that. So I am like reteaching myself that like it's nurturing to have like to eat a fucking salad or something.
Yeah.
But I'm at a point
Wow.
where I'll eat even something a little more unhealthy than not eat at all. So
Okay.
it hasn't
Yeah.
come back like full blown like anorexic or anything. So yeah, that's where I'm at with my body dysmorphia.
Did you ever seek out help with that or anything? Or was it like, I'm fine, I've got this under control? And I mean, for the most part, you kind of did because you were able to like hide that from people and stuff. Was it like that?
I did not seek out help at all for body dysmorphia. Um, Not even a little bit. So I think I did on my own in a way, like my embodiment work.
Mhm.
Inadvertently, I never went into embodiment breath work to solve my body dysmorphia, but I have found that it's helped me so much unknowing. And then EFT tapping has helped me a great, great deal as well. So,
Mm,
like,
yeah.
I still have a bad relationship with food, but I no longer think about what my body looks like every second of the day. Where when I was anorexic, it was like constant. That was the only thing I thought about, no matter where I was or what I was doing. It's like, oh my gosh, like, what does my body look when I'm sitting here in the car next to my boyfriend? What does my body look like when I'm standing in line ordering Starbucks? And it was really bad. But now I don't think
Wow.
about it all the time. I still do every day, but it's not like overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like just my story. And I would love to hear your story too. And then, we can talk about how we worked on those things too,
Yeah.
or are working on them.
Are working,
It's a
yeah.
forever process.
It is, yeah. It's been a journey. I feel like my weight has always I've always viewed it as a problem. Um, I've never really been at like I've never really been where I'm like, okay, this is where I want to be. This is like, it's always like a goal or like something to attain, if that makes sense.
Mm.
It was hard too because growing up, I don't think I don't know if my mom even realizes, but like she's really big on looks. And even kind of recently I've heard her say something like asking about one of my old friends or whatever. We were talking about someone from the past, and it was like, is she pretty or did she get fat? And it's
Mm.
like, whoa, what? So I grew up around this, and I I feel like growing up, the main adult in my life around me, or the main adults, were kind of like ashamed of my weight. And so
Mm.
then I grew up being ashamed of it as well. I remember being on diets from maybe 6 or 7 years old and up. I mean, I never like stayed on them all the time or anything, but my mom was always dieting and would have me diet with her.
Mm.
And so that was like the messages that I was getting from a young age. And then once I started getting kind of older and like a teen and even like early adults, I mean, I never had someone telling me like, it was kind of like, yeah, if there wasn't a guy kind of like interested in me or complimenting me or whatever, then it was like, oh, like must be my body, not really attractive. Um, in school growing up, I was always the funny one. I would have crushes on guys and stuff, and they'd come up and be like, hey, like, I really like your friend. Will you help me? That happened so many times. Hey, I really like your friend. Will
Mm.
you help me get with them? I'm like, sure. And I'm sitting there like, you're my crush though. Like, I wouldn't say that, but just in my
Yeah.
head, I'd just keep it a secret for Evs and whatever. And then later they'd be like, cool, thanks for hooking me up with Stephanie, and it's like, no problem. So that was always my experience. But they
Mm.
would always be like, oh, Nakisha, she's cool, she's so funny. And so I was always the funny one. I was always like the friend.
Mm.
um Also, I know I bring up Utah all the time, but
Mm.
I've gotta like, growing up in Utah with like hardly any representation too, it was really, really hard. Because yeah, I would feel big and bulky and stuff. I wasn't super tall, but I definitely wasn't ever like thin, or I started getting chubby maybe around like 9, 10. Um, and yeah, I mean, no one ever was like, well, you kind of have a different, body type. Like, yeah, like, women in your lineage are a little bit curvier too. Like,
Mm.
there was just nothing there, like none of that. And I just always was like, I'm ugly, I'm fat. Then in high school, we moved to Maryland. And I remember getting off the plane in Maryland, or just, yeah, I would just walk around, like just going to the grocery store with my mom and stuff. And then like people would check me out, or I would get more compliments, and so I started noticing like, oh, like in Utah, the standard of beauty was not what I was at all. But
Mm.
in Maryland, I was more, I more fit into that, to what the standard of beauty is, even with my thick thighs and, my curvy hips, my big butt, and my big boobs, like, they really like that out there. And I was like, oh, so that kind of helped to build my confidence somewhat. And I had other friends out there too that, they looked like me. They looked similar to me. We had similar body types, and we wore, the same size of pants. Um, but I definitely was an emotional eater.
Mm.
That's one thing, and that's where I'm really trying to work on now. Yeah, the second I think that's really why I've, gained weight, and it just kind of keeps piling on, because um I don't really fluctuate a whole lot. Like my mom always did in my life. She would like gain some weight and then lose 50 pounds for a while, you know, and then gain some weight back and then like lose 60 pounds, whatever. I've lost weight, a big part, um, a big amount, only once in my life. And it was like in my early 20s. And I loved it. I thought that felt great, but I wasn't healing the emotional connection part to it. Cause for me, there's a huge emotional connect. And I wasn't healing that part though of it. So I lost a bunch of weight. And at the time I was in an abusive relationship, and he judged me for how much I ate. He judged me for how big I was. He never hesitated to tell me like, oh, I usually don't like big girls, but I like you. Like, oh, you were so pretty though for a big girl. I usually don't like bigger girls. And this was as I was losing weight. I lost 65 to 70 pounds. And it was like, once I lost it, I was super stoked about it. I felt really good. But for him, he was happy about it because, you know, he was all about image and stuff. So it made him look better. But also it was like, I wasn't there yet. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're really close to your goal. You know, I lose like 70 pounds and it was like, oh, you're almost there. Like it was never good enough. It was never enough. So that was hard because when I did actually lose the weight, I was in such things around me weren't good. It wasn't like I was in a good place all around. I wasn't in a good place emotionally. I was in this, you know, abusive relationship with a very toxic person. So it was almost like I didn't really get to enjoy it fully like I wanted to. It was like almost for him. It was all for him, really. And it took a lot of that away of like that sense of accomplishment, or, you know, me being proud of myself or feeling good about it. It was like, oh yeah, but I lost all this weight and I still have more to go, you know, was kind of the feeling. But yeah, definitely there's emotional aspect for it for me. And it's like anytime something big or major happens, I'm like, oh, I need to go talk to some food about this, like right now. And that's what I did. So that's where I'm at.
That's where I feel I'm at now. So it kind of is interesting to me because I know it's like everyone has such a different journey. And it's like for you, like I'm going to go talk to some food about it now is like something you've struggled with and you're working on. And for me, I was like, oh, this is such an accomplishment to not starving myself. Like, so I feel better at my weight now, even though I maybe like, you know, run out of breath, like walking on the treadmill or something, than I ever did when I was 117 pounds. I hated myself. And so I just think it's funny how people's journey can be so different, though. Like something that you're working on is something that makes me feel accomplished. And you know what I mean? It's like those associations in our brain are so different for everyone, however they happened or whatever, you know? Yeah, my mom was always way smaller than me in stature. She's just smaller than I am. And I think that always bothered me as well. So I think our mothers play a huge role in both of our like ideas of your body.
I think so, yeah. They play such a huge role in like everything, all aspects. But yeah, I definitely think ours, you know, had a huge part in that specifically, like for us. Yeah, it was hard because when I look back and think of like all these diets and stuff, like 7 years old, you know, and I'm reaching for like some crackers or chips or whatever. And it's like, no, eat this apple. I'm like, what? Like, you know, or like, you know, her forbidding my grandpa from like taking me to McDonald's. And I remember I was grounded from going to McDonald's. Growing up, there was a McDonald's like right around the corner. And my friend would like to go there sometimes. And I don't know if like, I remember a lot of the kids in junior high and stuff, they would like go there to socialize and everything. And then of course you'd like order food while you were there. And my parents would purposely not give me money so I wouldn't be able to like, not, so they weren't encouraging me to go. And they actually got to a point where they would like forbid me to go there. And I thought it had to do with the distance or like it not being safe because it was on this like main road, this busy road off of Redwood Road. So, it's like right there by this busy road. And so I was like, is this it? But then I kept like getting older and I'm like, wait, like I know how to walk on a sidewalk. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm like, no, that's not it. And then I ended up finding out later, like they told, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up being told like, yeah, like we just don't want you to, eat there. That there were so many times it was like, oh, your weight's getting out of control. There was weird stuff that happened though. Once I got to high school and stuff, like, using a bike lock to like keep the refrigerator closed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that's just totally, it messes with you though, mentally. It was just like, oh, like I don't deserve food. I like my punishments are always like around food or calories or so, and depending on what what I'm doing or whatever. But if I'm like going to punish myself, it's like, oh, I'm going to overeat, you know. If I'm being good, it's like, oh my gosh, look how little, food or calories I ate today and stuff. And that's what I like. It's just this whole, it really messes with you. And
Yeah.
it really messed with me for the longest time. It still kind of can, but I definitely have more addressed the like emotional part of it, like being in energy healing and stuff. I've really tried to address like in energy healing, a lot of times when someone does have extra weight on them, it can be extra emotions that you're holding on to. It's something that you're not like letting go of. And I don't let go of anything. Like I'm so bad. I'm so bad with that. So I've been really trying to think of it more as like I'm letting go of weight instead of like losing weight. Oh, I have to lose it. It's just, no, I'm letting this go. I'm making the decision to release this.
Mm.
But yeah, it can be extra weight. It can be, or extra energy. It's literally like just extra energy or emotions or whatever. Trapped emotions can be like a huge thing. And also it can be like a safety or protection thing too. If you're, if you were in an unsafe type of situation, then your body is going to literally put on weight to create space between you and that person. Or if you literally need space, if you just never get time alone and you're just always stressed out and you're like always just wishing, oh, like I wish I could just like get time alone or this person would leave me alone or whatever, then your body's gonna be like, okay, like I'm going to literally create that space for you then. There's all kinds of different things that it can be, but I do believe a lot of it can be very like emotionally connected. I don't really know a whole lot when it comes to the other side though, when you're like, when you've lost a lot of weight and wanting to gain the weight, like in your kind of situation where, or like, you, where you're thinner and where you're not overweight. Cause I've just looked so much into like, when you're overweight, cause I always felt like I was. So, yeah, energetically though, it'd be interesting to find out like,
Yeah.
what's going on there.
I'm sure it's a lot. Like I said, I just felt like I needed to like be smaller, like diminish things. In my family or whatever, there was always a lot going on. And there was a lot of chaos, like when I was younger with like my siblings and some other things going on. And I always just wanted to kind of play a little bit smaller and not be a problem and stuff. And I don't know if that's why. I definitely wasn't anorexic when I was younger. And I was lucky enough that I can't remember any specific times or anything where either of my parents got on my case about my weight necessarily. But I think that parents need to be careful about how they talk about themselves.
Yes.
and other people. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like you could be so kind to your own kid and tell them they're beautiful no matter what. But it's like at the end of the day, yeah, those like little conversations. It's like if my mom and her friends or my dad and his friends, like they're in a room together and they're like, oh man, did you see that XYZ like started gaining weight after she got married? Or you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like it would,
Yep.
yeah, like it would totally, you hear that. That's your socializing, right? You're starting to learn to socialize with other humans, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't want people to talk behind my back. I better not gain weight or whatever. And it's really, I think, too harmful that we talk about weight really at all in some contexts with kids. It's like there's nothing wrong with having weight on us or not, but it's like I was literally anorexic and I never got so many compliments in my life. So it was very positively reinforced. You've never
Yeah.
looked so good. Like, what are you doing? What are you working out? Like all of this stuff. I even got asked to be in a workout video with like this dude I was working with, and him and three friends were like
Wow.
making a workout program. And he was like, be in the workout video. And I was like, oh no, like I don't work out. Cause I was like, I'll pass out. Like, there's no way. Like I can't
Yeah.
lift a dumbbell and for whatever. And he's like, no, there's no way. Like people who don't work out can't like stay like that tone. And I was like, well, I don't, and I didn't say anything then, but I was just like, yeah, well, I'm not eating anything. So of course I look like I work out. So I think it's a really
Wow.
interesting thing. And the problem with it is that it's the scale, and there's an appropriate thing that we're all being compared to,
Mm-hmm.
that society's chosen. And for me and you, and I know you've said this to me before, and I feel like my mind was blown when you said it, is like, oh, I wanted to be like the Olsen twins. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you said that to me.
Yeah.
And I
I
was
was
just like,
obsessed.
yeah, I just can't even. Like, that's not like, I think about who are the women me and you grew up like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, the Olsen twins, like, and I'm like, we don't, you know what I mean? Like, girl, I have like double D's. I don't look like any of these women. I also like, if I, care, even when I was anorexic, my boobs were bigger and it got like attention I didn't want. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I'm sure like it just was, and it was awkward. It was another part of me I wanted to make smaller because I was just like, like, why, I'm not just this part of my body or whatever. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. I think that maybe why the anorexia, but also I do think my mom tends to go on that side as well. Like if she is having an emotionally hard time, she would stop eating over overeating. So she is definitely
Right.
that way. Most of the
Mm-hmm.
women on my mom's side of the family are very small. They're very petite. Um, and then but like on my dad's side, like my sisters are from my dad or whatever, like we tend to like run heavier. So it was like I felt like kind of trapped or whatever. But it was a constant conversation. And it's like, man,
Yes.
I'm obviously not a dude, so I don't know if what goes on when dudes talk, but like, do they constantly talk about their weight? Do they constantly have those conversations with friends? Because I felt like I did. I felt like my girlfriends and me talked about it all the time.
Constantly. And if I wasn't talking about it, I'm thinking about it. Like, yeah, just all the time. And it's funny because, like, if I, like, from what I've seen, like, guys, like, in their friend group and stuff, a lot of the time, like, a guy will gain a little bit of weight or whatever. They're like, oh, putting on that beer belly, and they can joke about it. And then it's just done. And then they're on to the next conversation. And yeah, like, it's really hard having, I feel like there's an added pressure when you're a woman, and we're the ones that are like, having, like, birthing babies and stuff too.
Yeah.
And I mean, our bodies are naturally going to be bigger. It's just um it's just so interesting to me. And of course there's all different kinds of like body types and things like that. And I honor them all. Not all of them are curvy and big boobs and stuff like that. And I totally get that. But yeah, like I said, also, like, just growing up without that representation, it was really it was really hard. I grew up like always thinking that I like wasn't thin enough, I wasn't beautiful. Um, yeah, even I remember seeing Torrance's picture on the dating site, and I was like, oh, he's not gonna like me. I'm gonna be too big for him. And I really thought like he wasn't even gonna, be attracted to me. And here we are. No, but he's like one of the, he's one of my biggest fans. But on my fans only page. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he's here for it. So I mean, there's all different, kinds of body types and stuff. I just, yeah, where we grew up at though, when you're not seeing a whole lot of diversity, that makes it really, really hard.
There's a huge lack of diversity here, especially for women. And I think it's very, I don't even know, like me and Dallin were having this conversation the other day because I was like, I don't know how to quite put my thumb on it, but it's like very neutral. Like everything's the same. It's very like hipster beige. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know like how to explain it, but there's like, I used to be so jealous of like they had, like the loose fitting like white suede t-shirts and stuff like that. And it's like I can't do that. Like everything's tight on my body. How
Yeah.
do you have like
Yeah.
how do you have like
Same.
swaying things? It's like yeah, it was
Swaying things.
like loose fitting. I'm just like, this isn't happening. But
Yeah.
then if you wear something tight because you don't have a choice, then it's like I would get comments about that. Like I remember one time even like the hall monitor person like telling me I had to change because my shirt was too tight. And it's like, I don't like all t-shirts are tight on me. I have double D's. Like there's nothing I can do about it. And I
That's
remember,
how I was too.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I had a hall monitor tell me I needed
Wow.
to wear like baggier clothes. And I was like I shouldn't wear that shirt and almost got sent home. But me being me, I threw a fucking fit, man. I was like not about it. But
Yeah.
I just was like, you couldn't do anything right, and then on top of that, it's like you're being compared to people like Britney Spears and the Olsen twins and stuff, but also watching them get ripped apart for their bodies. So it was so
Yeah.
confusing.
Yes,
You're just like,
it
what the
is.
fuck am I supposed to do? I know there's so much bad to social media, but like once I started getting healthier myself, I could use it as like a tool to really mitigate like the imagery that was coming into me. So it's
Hmm.
like, as long I wouldn't suggest it as a tool for everyone, obviously, like depending on where you're at in your journey, but I'm really good now at like only following people that I feel inspired by, that I don't compare myself to physically and or in any way really. So I think social media can be a good tool for that because it's not like People magazine is the only person deciding what a woman looks like now.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also ask that all the time, like, who's deciding this? Who's deciding that this size is what it's just so weird to me. But there is this like pressure or almost knowingness or something. I'm like, oh, I guess I just didn't get the email, I guess. Cause like there's just there are kind of like trends and in certain areas. I'm sure social media has a huge part to do with that. But even before then, like with growing up, I noticed that. And I felt like a lot of people would jump on the same trend. And so a lot of people were the same, but still different from me, like in Utah. I think social media has helped me in this because it's helped to like branch apart from people. Well, also moving out of Utah helped me a lot with that too. There's more diversity. But with social media, everything's accessible now, which can be that can be the bad side of it. But the good side of it can be like, one of the things that has actually helped me through this is going and following a bunch of plus size models. I actually really like following them because I'll see them in like lingerie, or just this really cute outfit or sundress or whatever. And I'm like, I could wear that. I'm like, oh yeah, like that would actually like look good on my body,
Yeah.
that's really helped me a lot. And I love that there's been this whole movement towards plus size modeling lately. Actually, just real people. Like, I love seeing ads with real people with freckles and just like with a gap in their teeth and curvy but also thin and athletic bodies, and like just all different types. Like, I love how I like to follow things like that, where it's real, it's real bodies, it's real people. I like to look at an ad and be like, oh, that could totally be like Sarah at the grocery store or something, Sarah, like Molly from down the street, whatever.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, so social media can be something that really helps with that. I know it's really helped me through, my image or weight. Well, I don't want to say issues because it's more like specific than that, but that my like image that I had in my mind, I guess, growing up or whatever, like, oh, the Olsen twins. It's like, girl, you're not going to be like, what? You're picking someone like completely opposite of what you look like. You're just disadvantaging yourself when you do that. Why would I pick someone that's, blonde and blue eyes? Like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
No matter how much weight I lost or how much I wanted to be that, like, so social media can be a really good thing if you're, I guess, just depending on what you're following or like using it for, because it also can be hard if you are comparing yourself to others. And I don't know, there's this whole like standard on social media too, and just all kinds of stuff. But I don't use it for that. I'm very conscious about like who I'm following and stuff. Another thing I did was, because energetically, right? I'm like, so always growing up, I've always hated my arms. Like my arms, like I just always made huge like issues about it and stuff. And so finally, especially the back of my arms, like by my elbow and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get tattoos on the back of my arms, near my elbows, so that like whenever I think of that part, I'm sending love to it instead. And I'll have a reason to love that body part. And so I went and did that and just got a little like sea waves on one arm and then mountains on the other. And that, that helped me a lot too. I mean, I still don't just go like, showing off my arms and stuff like that. But I mean, it did help. But I also try to counteract certain thoughts with, positive ones. Yeah, I may not totally love my arms. I may have more work that I'd like to do on them. But these arms held my baby, they hold Luna and pick her up and comfort her. My body, it's strong, it's solid, it's so kind of flipping things so that it's a positive thing instead. And sometimes it's hard because you're like, no, I really don't like this body part. But I mean, there's good in all that, even with my belly or my stretch marks, I carried Luna for 9 months and my body did some really amazing things getting her out. So I like really appreciate that. But there's some days that it's a little harder to see that than others, but that's that's one of the things I've really been trying to practice now in the mirror lately, actually.
I love that. It's I would love to say that it's like as simple as just being like, hey, like looking in yourself in the mirror every
Yeah.
day and being like, oh, I'm so beautiful. And it's just not that simple. Like there's some dark shit. And some days you just like feel like you hate yourself. And then
Yeah.
you have to kind of like ride those waves too. And I had to do a lot of reframing with the way I would think about stuff. And it's like, for me, what I value is honesty in my life. Like, I hate lies, and it's just like my number one thing. I just hate it. I don't like with the smallest thing, I hate little white lies. And so I would think to myself, like, that's what I value is honesty. And so, like, if I would be like, God, you're so fat, or your legs look so terrible, and that one of the things I would ask myself is like, is that true? And it's like, no, like most of the time it's not actually true. And I
Hmm.
could tell myself that. And I did not feel better instantly, but over time, it took less and less time to think more positively. And
Hmm.
it's a process. It takes a long time.
For
And
sure.
yeah, you have to like stick it out. But I'd say the number one thing I did right off the bat is like literally get rid of anyone in my life that would say things to me that made me feel bad about my body. Like guys,
Yeah.
and yeah, I had so many terrible comments from boyfriends or people I dated. It's not even funny. Like I'm sure me and you could both do a podcast about toxic
Oh,
like things that dudes say and you're like, what the fuck? Like
so
I
many like are swarming through my head right now. Yeah.
Yeah. And not just dudes, like I had so many girls in high school and stuff like that say
Uh-huh.
really, really shitty things too. So it's just
Oh yeah.
um I know that like they're in high school too, and they were probably dealing with a lot of the same things. I've also had adult women say shitty things. I don't know, but
Me too. I've had friends' parents say, like, comment on my weight and stuff too. Oh, girl, yeah, there's a whole episode
yeah,
with that.
because I had like
I,
an ex whose parents told me I looked like a chipmunk one time because I still had like baby fat cheeks when I was in high school, and I was like, what the fuck? Like,
wow.
so forever, I used to like daydream about getting like the fat sucked out of my cheeks. It took me years to get over that comment. And
I
so,
would have chewed on all their like wooden furniture. I'm like, you think I'm a chick?
yes, that's how we solve problems.
That's how we do over here. Call me a chipmunk.
Call me a
Shit.
chipmunk bitch.
Call me a chipmunk bitch. I'll munch all your furniture.
I just show up in a chipmunk outfit.
Oh man.
Oh, I wish I had that humor then.
Oh man.
Ah, I'm, I love that. But my first step, what I was just is like to get the fuck out of my life. Like, we don't need those people in our lives.
Yeah.
Obviously, I said I didn't seek help specifically for like my like anorexia and stuff, but I have done so much therapy, which I think me and you haven't really talked about in a lot of episodes, but I love energy work. I love holistic work. I love energy healing and sound baths and all this stuff. But I am also a huge advocate for therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like, I know we give out like advice on like what we like to do in our personal journeys, but like seek out help,
Mhm.
professional help if you need it. Cause I did for so long to help with so many other things. And it helped me getting work past like having toxic people in my life. Because you can't
Yeah.
get better when you have people around you, like your best friend or your boyfriend telling you these things. Like it's really difficult to work past it if that's constantly in your face.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think of some of the comments and things that were said to me or whatever, or like one of my exes showing me like the new girls that he was dating, like
Mm,
right after we were together and stuff that looked nothing like me. Like all kinds of stuff. But there was something, so in the last episode, one of the last ones, it might have been the manifesting one, so the one before maybe, but one of our recent episodes, you were like, oh, what were you saying? You were talking about like my something, I can't even remember what episode it was, is not up for discussion. And that's kind of how I felt like with this one, like my body, my weight is not up for discussion. It's not something that you sit and talk about and discuss amongst yourselves or bring up or ask about. Like, it's just how you were, it was a part where you were talking about like firm boundaries with something in one of our episodes. Do you remember what you were talking about? Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
know what you're talking about, and I'm like drawing a blank on the exact. I want to
Yeah.
say it was like sexuality
Yes.
or something.
Yeah.
Like my sensuality or something is not up for discussion
Yeah.
or something like that.
Which that's not either. But yeah, I feel that way. I feel that way about this too. My
Yeah.
body, my, the way I look, the, choices I make with my hair. Yeah, whether I've lost 10 pounds or gained 10 pounds or whatever, like, so when it comes to, the people in your life, if they're sitting around, they're the kind of people that are going to sit and, judge like that, and you hear them talking about other people like that, then you can probably guarantee that like they're saying the same things about you behind your back or whatever. And some of those may be family members or something like that. So that's a little bit harder. Those are more like discussions or boundaries that need to be set. But yeah, when there's sometimes, with some of those other people though, it's like, nope, get out of here. We don't have room for that. Yeah, I'm not okay with that. Like, that's not cool. It's like bashing someone on social media to me, but
Talking behind
like
people's backs. It's like
it's
the
like
old school.
yeah, it is. It's like the old school. Yeah, that's mean girl type of stuff. And although I love the movie, like, get the fuck out of here.
Get the heck out. Yeah.
Unless you're quoting the movie, then yeah, I don't want it.
Yeah. It's like getting to know yourself as well. Like I know when I'm starting to spiral because I will project the shit out of my insecurity on other people. Like that's when I know I'm spiraling. Cause I'll like walk into Walmart and I'll be like, I'll start like noticing how other people look or whatever. And I'm like, oh shit.
But
If
you're
I'm
in Walmart.
I know that was not a good example.
Not at all.
No. You're just people watching. And the one on 13th South, I'm like, what is happening here, dude? All those pictures came from that Walmart.
Bro,
all of them.
I used to work at that Walmart.
No. Oh yeah, as an optician.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still though, we were right by the door, so we would see people get tackled when they were like stealing shit. And SWAT team came one time. Like, that store's crazy. That's what gave me my thick skin. Before working there, I was like timid and like, hi, yeah, okay. And then after leaving and stuff, I was like, man, like people would like yell at me and scream at me and stuff. I was just like, whatever. I'm like, get out of my face. I don't get paid enough for this. Bye. Like,
they weren't even buying glasses. They were just random people yelling at you.
They were just trying to get free contacts all the time. And I was like, nope. I was the one that always stayed firm on that. And they're like, you're a bitch. I'm like, yeah, okay, bye. And you can't see, so get out of here. Like, I don't know. I just
find your way.
Bad example though. That one's so bad. And the bird shit. Oh my God, the bird shit at that store. I remember
so rank.
Oh, I took a picture of my car one time as I was leaving, and it was just like covered in bird crap. And I said like 2 birds, 1 car or something like that. It was so bad. It was so bad. Oh,
me and Dallin were there yesterday and we were walking from the car to the door and there was just this smell. We couldn't figure it out. And Dallin's like, what is that? And I was like, do you really want to know? Like, we just need to just get to the door as fast as possible. Like, it is the worst Walmart.
I don't know what it is about the second someone walks in there, they have to pee, poop, or barf. No. I don't know what it is. I've literally had some kind of wet substance sprayed on me in the bathroom. It was brown, but it was like completely liquid. I don't know. I immediately went home. Oh my God, I hated that
I'm
place.
just like
But
gonna throw up, but then
oh, that place, like
your fear of throwing up.
Yeah, it's so
We're just having like freaking moments right now. It's like a traumatizing place to experience. It's
It
the
really is.
Walmartiest Walmart I've ever been.
Walmart is
It's- it's so-
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah, and I worked there for way too damn long. And after I like wasn't working there, I'm like, I'm never setting foot in that Walmart again. Like,
ever.
I can't. That's so funny.
Oh, such a bad example, but such a good tangent. Oh, but yeah. So I know that I'm spiraling when our transition.
When you go to Walmart in the first place, no, I'm just kidding.
Then
Well,
you
that
know your
one.
life is falling to shit.
That one specifically. Yeah, you're spiraling. Oh, that's so funny. I'm like, I worked there as a greeter. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. I just like, I was just, yeah, I'll start like comparing myself. Like I'll start noticing other people more. I'll start noticing like how they look, like, oh, like, you know, and not in like a nice way, not in like, oh my God, she looks amazing, but in like a, why doesn't my hair do that? Why doesn't the jeans look like that or whatever? So getting to know yourself and your trait, like when you're starting to spiral, instead of waiting until you're like in the hole, like all the fucking way in like eating a bag of Oreos, you know, and just in your house. Like mine is like drinking beer and eating Oreos and like watching Sex in the City. And it's just like, this can't be good for anybody, you know? So I have to know that, right? So it's like, I just have
I put my Oreos away and turn off my TV.
shit. It's really the beer that tops it off. If you've ever had beer and Oreos.
I haven't. I don't do beer. I do wine though. And I do like the crappy,
I feel like that's
like
more dangerous.
Yeah, I do like the
Dude.
sugary wine too. That's what I actually get drunk off of. It's not even like the alcohol, it's like the sugar content. I'm like, yeah.
You're just having a sugar spike from hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's bad.
I say this, I hope our listeners aren't too concerned. I don't do this every day. So don't need to call anyone. I'm just kidding. They're like, are you guys okay?
Don't care.
Are you guys safe? Do we need to be concerned about you? I'm just assuming they care. Maybe they don't. I'm just kidding.
And then I'm sitting over here. I'm like, they don't care. Just kidding.
I think it's just that like really great like fucking awareness of yourself and what you know about yourself and like that radical responsibility. Like, dude, I'll eat that Oreo and it's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not trying to kid anyone. I'm not pretending this isn't happening. Like, I'm feeling it. I'm like, okay, I'm in it. I feel bad. I'm eating this Oreo. Am I going to stop myself? And like working through that. And I think that's like a really big part of like the process, the journey of like getting better and not shaming yourself. Fucking shame.
The shame is what's hard, because that's what I'm currently working on, is like not turning right to food to comfort me and you know, but sometimes, you know what, that's what I do. And then the shame is just as big a part of that equation though. Like, you know, sometimes like me eating that piece of white chocolate, for me it's white chocolate. Oh my gosh, it's white chocolate. Like Tor will literally like go to the store like when it's like that time of the month and stuff, and he'll just like sneak me white chocolate. I'm like, yes. So
you guys are both adults and you're sneaking me white chocolate.
He just like slides it over. He's like, I got you something. It's a white chocolate Twix bar. And I'm like, I just lose my mind. The first time I ever saw one, just PS, the first time he ever gave me one, I cried. So I didn't know they existed. I always talked about like, oh my God, you know, it'd be perfect if they made a white chocolate Twix. And then he came home one day with one. I was like, oh, what? And I just like started crying. But So yeah, I mean, sometimes the shame part of it afterwards can be like just as bad, if not worse, than like just eating the candy bar. You know what I mean?
Absolutely
So
worse. Absolutely
yeah,
worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
Don't add the shame onto it. Just the calories. Don't do the shame part.
We don't need to lather it in shame. It doesn't
Yeah,
need to happen. It's easier said than
exactly.
done, but yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, that fucking shame. It's really hard to work on because I think we live in a society where that's like used as a tactic to keep people in line is shaming them.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I just think, yeah, I'm so glad now that I can just be like, fuck you. You know, I don't feel shame from other people anymore as much. Like I used to feel it from
Yeah.
everyone. Like I would
Oh, me
feel
too.
shameful. It's like, oh my God, my boyfriend would make that comment. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed of existing in front of you right now because you don't think I'm
Yeah.
skinny enough or whatever.
Uh-huh.
My shame now is just mine, which is still not okay. But it's like it's getting so much better. And it's like you just have to pat yourself on the back. Like, sure, it's been a decade or 15 years or whatever, but I'm in a much better place now. And like acknowledging that, and like even as you're eating that Oreo or whatever it is for you, or your white chocolate, and being like, hey, like, thank you to yourself. Like, thanks, like, for being aware that this is what you're doing. Like, what is it that's making you still eat this while I'm still eating it? I don't stop
Yeah.
myself anymore. I don't shame myself. I just will eat it and maybe start eating it a little slower, and then be like, ask myself and be like, okay, like now I'll get like a glass of water. It generally like will help a little bit with my cravings and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And like start asking, get inquisitive about yourself, be curious, because you're like pretty much reparenting your eating habits and your relationship with your body. So it's like you have to be curious, like, what are you feeling? Like, what's going on? And be tender and like, compassionate towards yourself.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
You want to come over later and eat some Oreos
I
and white chocolate?
would. I'm on my way. I'll see you in 2 days.
I know.
I do miss that though. That's always been kind of a huge thing in my friendships. It's like, hey, I'm going through something, come over. And then they just like show up and we just pig out or whatever. And I actually kind of miss some of those times. I love that.
I think it can be like food can be really nourishing. I want to like learn. I don't cook. And I want to stop saying that because I think that's one of my big problems. I eat so unhealthy, or I can eat so unhealthy because I really struggle cooking myself meals. But I want to learn how that's like a nourishing experience. And like Sakara is so good at that.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll like cook for me and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is different, And so like I want to get to a place where like I can cook a like healthy meal for like me and Dallin and like be excited about it as opposed to feel like it's a punishment.
Yeah.
I would like to be in that place in my life, putting that out
Me
there.
too. I'm like a mom and a wife, and I'm like, me too. Still learning there as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I think about the stuff that I put in my body sometimes, and because of the body dysmorphia, it's like, oh, it's okay that I just drank a Monster that has 0 calories. But I'm like, oh, it's like drinking straight toxic shit, but it's
Yeah.
not going to make me gain weight. I know. And like I bought the Medical Medium book. Have you heard of the Medical Medium?
Yeah, I love him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought that book forever ago when I went to Tony Robbins 2 years ago. And I love that book. And he has like the 369 cleanse or whatever. And like the celery juice in the morning and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I fucking feel bomb when I do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, this is great. But I notice even when I do that, it's just like you still have to work on the shame. It's not just about the food. You have to work on the shame and the self-talk. And I think that the reason body dysmorphia is so difficult is it's like so dynamic. It's not just like I have to solve my self-talk or I have to eat better. or I have to work out. It's all of these things. It's like
Yeah.
what, my idea of what people expect, like how I think people expect me to look, how I expect me to look, how society expects me to look, the shame, the self-talk, the food, the working out, like it can be like it's just so dynamic. So I think body dysmorphia is like a really almost too big to talk about in just an hour, but there's so many different facets of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so, I mean, I, for me, just have to like choose one thing at a time, like food. And then I won't beat myself up about working out. It's like I go on walks or do this or whatever, but it's like I ate healthy all day or whatever. Try to learn those
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just try to incorporate more of that healthiness too. For me, like I said, it's a big connection to like emotionally what's going on. If I'm overeating, it's like, kind of tapping in and like, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Or, why am I choosing food in this moment right now to comfort me? Is there something else that I can do, in place of this? So that's what I've been trying to figure out lately and work with. Or maybe it's not even about like not turning to food, but just not eating the entire candy bar, but just a sliver of that white chocolate Twix.
Yeah.
I know that Twix really came in handy during this last full moon. So I maybe can't always just say no.
It's that punishment mindset too, as I saw something online the other day that was like, just because you didn't hit your goals 100% today doesn't mean you should just give up entirely.
Yeah.
And I've done that to myself so many times where it's like I miss a day in my program of eating or whatever, and then I just give up. It's like, well, I already failed.
Yeah.
And it's that shame that you're working through. So like learning to be compassionate, that it's like, oh, okay, well, I had a bad day. I ate a bunch of white chocolate on the full moon. So it's like, yeah. I pulled a card before
Yay!
this time. Yeah.
Okay.
And I pulled it from the same one I did last time, the Starseed Oracle.
I like that one.
I do too. And it's so beautiful. And I just felt called to it. And it's the called button, soul gifts and training. It's time to step up. So step up.
What? Step
I
up,
know.
like as in dance song?
Are we starting our crew?
Because I'll step up.
I-
I'll step up.
yeah. In my chipmunk outfit and everything.
Oh my gosh.
It says, you came to Earth with a double mission, to grow as a soul and to bring about a shift in consciousness. The best way to fulfill these personal and collective purposes is to trust what it is that your soul is calling you toward, for it's encoded within the most direct path forward. Your soul has many unique gifts that it came here to share. Some you may already be aware of, others you're just beginning to uncover. You are being called to remember that your soul intelligently chose the perfect conditions to carry out your soul's missions and share your soul's gifts. If you're being called toward a creative project, a passion, or an adventure, this card is your confirmation that you're facing the right way and that this moment right here is destined. If you're feeling underprepared or thinking, who am I to do that? This card is guiding you to step up and leap, and consider perhaps that your soul has been training for this moment right here for lifetimes.
Ooh.
I know. Starseed activation. Place the card. Starseed activation. I call forth the soul gifts and soul training that I've received throughout all of my lifetimes. I'm ready to embody them all now without hesitation or fear. I fully commit to being here now. I'm ready to step into my soul's highest and most potent calling. I've been training for this for lifetimes.
Wow.
I feel like,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, I feel like this is such a good card for like end of year, starting a new year, and just like, I don't know, for me, my first thought was like, man, like our own personal struggles with like body dysmorphia and like talking about it here and sharing those stories, which are very vulnerable with that for us, that we're still working through. We're not like all perfect or would
Yeah.
pretend to be. It's like, I feel like it feels good and purposeful. Like the struggles for me that I've been through, it feels like if I can share and do that, like it feels like it gives it some meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I hope our listeners got a lot out of it as well.
Yeah, me too.
Woo!
And as always, like, thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast. We really enjoy making them. And so it's even more enjoyable to share them with you and hear your guys' beautiful comments and your support. So don't forget to be wise
And get weird.